Hi everyone. How are you? I hope you're reading. I have a book for you called All Different Now, Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom. And it's written by Angela Johnson and illustrated by E.B. Lewis. Some really good pictures in here. So if you don't know what Juneteenth is, you are going to find out in this book. Let's take a look at the pictures and see what we can decide. We think, can make a few predictions about this book. Does this look modern or a long time ago? I think it looks a long time ago. How about you guys? Do these look like rich houses or poor houses? They're very like shacks, aren't they? Chickens running around. Some must be out in the country too. A June morning, breeze off the porch blew the smell of honeysuckle past the fields across the yard and into our room to wake us. Sleeping inside of those little houses is also pretty bare, isn't it? Just wood. And nobody knew, as we ate a little, talked a little, and headed to the fields as the sun was rising, that soon it would all be different. They're getting ready in the morning. It says they're walking to the fields, so these children are not getting to go to school, are they? They're going out to work. So this happened at a time when they were still slaves or enslaved people, and so they didn't have any choice what they did. They couldn't say, today I want to go on a picnic, or today I want to stay home even. You had to get up, even if you were a child, and go out and work because you were owned by somebody else. That's slaves are owned by somebody else. There have been slaves in many, many points in history. So the slaves in the United States usually had to go out and work in the fields, or they might have been people that worked in the houses. But this little girl is talking about getting up, and the whole family, we saw them, and they're going out to work in the field. Then we worked and worked and worked some more under the hot Texas sun. So they're picking cotton. They're putting it into big bags. And Texas, at the time of year when they would be picking, is hot, 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 really hot. Until word spread from the port, so the shipyards, to town, through the countryside, and into the fields. So it says news spread. See how they're all getting some news? They're reacting. They can't believe it. What's the news? That a Union general had read from a balcony that we were all now and forever free, and all things would be all different now. So a Union general was during the Civil War. It was part of the military. And they're saying, okay, slavery is over. It's all free. Everyone is free. These are really cool pictures, aren't they? They're quite the pieces of art. I watched as my Aunt Laura sang as she held her baby. Mr. Jake, who some say was 100 years old, cried quietly. Here's those people. You see Aunt Laura with the baby. Here's Mr. Jake. Why do you think they would sing? They were so happy. They thought they would never be free. They thought they would be owned their whole lives because that's kind of how it had been. So why do you think he would cry? It was just so hard to believe and overwhelming and exciting, but amazing. And if he's lived, if some people say he's 100 years old, His whole life he was a slave. And then someone says, now you get to be free. And a group of grown people bowed their heads and whispered things to each other I could not hear. There they are. My mama held my hand softly and looked beyond as another breeze blew over everything and fell into a hush. She's probably so thankful. As a mama, you'd be happy. Not just you're happy, you're free, and you're so happy your children aren't going to have to live like that. Here it is at nighttime. And as more people joined us, I think we skipped a page. Yes, we did. Okay, let's check this one out first. They're at the ocean. Mama, Papa, the aunts and uncles, and all my cousins had an afternoon picnic by the water. My baby brother crawled around on our blanket as we listened to the sounds of the waves. Can you imagine if never in your life you really got to decide what you were going to do, where you were going to live, what you were going to eat, what you were going to do that day? And now someone's told you you were free. Wow. Now it's nighttime. There they are. And as more people joined us, we ate as a free people, laughed as a free people, and told stories as a free people on into the night. We are celebrating. What was before would be no more. Slavery was over. And it shows them kind of walking back, I think. Darker pictures. As we walked back home, the cool of the night soothed our tired feet that padded quietly past the shadow fields of cotton. Way back there you can see cotton in the fields. And in the morning, the smell of honeysuckle will awake me again beside my sisters and brother to a time that will be for all of us all different now. So they are leaving those slave cabins and going somewhere else. So it was still very difficult because they didn't have anything. So can you imagine if you left, but you had absolutely nothing? You wouldn't have money because you didn't get paid for your work, all those hard years that you worked. You just kind of had your clothes. And I would imagine a lot of them did not have horses and buggies either. So it was an exciting time, but there was still a lot of work to do so that they could earn a living and provide for themselves. And let's see the last page. So this book is about Juneteenth, it's called, which is June 19th, 1865. So this is kind of an interesting thing that some people don't know about. The Emancipation Proclamation, which gave enslaved people their freedom, was signed January 1st, 1863. But this was June 1865. So 2.5 years later. So Abraham Lincoln had told the nation, made a law, there was a law, a new law, that they were free. But in Texas, which is where this took place, that information didn't get to the people for 2.5 years. So they worked 2.5 years as if they were still enslaved, and they actually weren't, but they didn't know it. Because the newspapers, they didn't allow enslaved people to read, and they certainly didn't give them newspapers. So their owners didn't tell them that. So for 2.5 years, they were free and they still worked. So Juneteenth, they call it, because it was June 19th, 1865, was when the news finally got to the people in Texas. So that's why Juneteenth is celebrated as a day of freedom, because that was sort of like the last of the people, supposedly, I don't know, there might have been some that still heard after that, but found out on June 19th, which happens to be my birthday. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the book. Juneteenth is an interesting thing to know about. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.